Picture this, right now under your shirt, on your arms, on your back, you are covered in hair. Not the hair you can see, microscopic hair. In fact, you have almost the exact same number of hair follicles per square inch as a chimpanzee does. You are not naked. You were never naked. Your body just got tricked into growing hair so small you cannot see it with your eyes. And once you understand how that happened and why, you are going to look at every single person around you completely differently, because what happened to your fur might be the single strangest trade your ancestors ever made. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why losing something as simple as body hair may have quietly rewired the size of your brain, the way you walk, and the reason you're even capable of watching this video right now. Let's start with what people usually get told, because it's not wrong, it's just incomplete. The most common explanation is called the savanna hypothesis, or the cooling theory. About 2 million years ago, our ancestors, like Homo erectus, started hunting differently. Instead of ambushing prey, they chased it for hours. In the brutal heat of the African plains, this is called persistence hunting. And it works because most animals can sprint faster than a human, but almost none of them can out-endure one. A cheetah will destroy you in a 100-meter dash and then collapse from heat stroke 20 minutes later. Humans don't collapse. We sweat. We cool down while we run, and thick fur is the enemy of that system because fur traps heat right against the skin. So the theory says our ancestors who happen to have less fur could hunt longer, survive better, and pass on that trait. Over hundreds of thousands of years, the fur thinned out until we became the strange, sweaty, nearly hairless apes we are today. That part most people already sort of know. Here's where it gets interesting. In 2011, researchers actually built a computer model to test this. Not a guess, not a theory on paper, an actual simulation. Scientists at the University of Glasgow and Liverpool John Moores University ran calculations testing exactly how much hair loss would be needed for early humans to stay active during the hottest hours of the day without overheating and dying. And what they found is wild. The model showed that as hair loss increased and sweating got more efficient, our ancestors could remain active longer and longer into the punishing heat of midday, a time when literally every other predator on the savanna was hiding in the shade, panting, waiting for the sun to drop. That gap, those extra hours in the brutal heat where nothing else wanted to move, that was our window. We didn't outfight the other predators, we simply outsuffered them. While the lions slept off the heat, we were still out there tracking, walking, closing in. But here's the question almost nobody answers. If hair loss is so useful for cooling, why do we still have hair on our head? If nakedness was the winning strategy, why didn't evolution finish the job? The answer is almost the opposite of what you'd expect. Scalp hair may have survived for the exact opposite reason your body hair disappeared. It's not about heat escaping, it's about heat coming in. The top of your head, under direct equatorial sun for 8, 10, 12 hours a day, needed a natural umbrella. Thick hair on the scalp is theorized to protect the brain, arguably the single most temperature-sensitive organ you own, from direct sunlight overheating it while the rest of your body was busy cooling itself through sweat. In other words, evolution didn't remove hair uniformly, it surgically deleted it from everywhere except the one spot that needed a shield instead of a vent. Now here's a detail that barely ever makes it into these videos, and it might be the most important one. In 2023, scientists at the University of Utah and University of Pittsburgh didn't just study the theory, they found the actual genetic switch. They discovered specific regions of DNA that got disabled, essentially turned off, to suppress hair growth in humans. And then they checked something nobody expected to check. They looked at other mammals that are also nearly hairless, elephants, naked mole rats, whales, and they found the exact same genetic trick had been used independently at least 9 separate times across completely unrelated branches of the mammal family tree. 9 times. 9 different species evolving on 9 different paths, all stumbling onto the same biological shortcut to shut off fur. Hairlessness isn't some rare evolutionary accident that happened once to us. It's apparently a move nature keeps making over and over again when the conditions call for it. We are not special for losing our fur. We're just one more entry on a very long list. Now let's get into a theory that almost nobody talks about because it sounds almost too strange to be true, but it comes from a real peer-reviewed paper. It's called the tick hypothesis. Around 5 to 8 million years ago, the ancestors of humans and chimpanzees split apart. And one theory says the reason has almost nothing to do with intelligence or tools. It has to do with parasites. As the dense rainforests in East Africa started breaking apart into patches, fragmented forest, so open grassland, fragmented forest again, the conditions became perfect breeding grounds for ticks. Ticks thrive in exactly that kind of broken edge of forest environment. And thick body hair is basically a 5-star hotel for a tick. It's warm, it's hidden, it's hard to remove from. So this theory argues that our ancestors and chimpanzee ancestors each had to solve the tick problem, but they solved it in two completely opposite ways. Chimpanzees doubled down. They leaned into social grooming, spending hours a day picking parasites out of each other's fur, which is actually why grooming became such a massive part of chimp social bonding. Our ancestors went the other direction entirely. Less hair meant fewer places for ticks to hide in the first place. No fur, no 5-star tick hotel, same problem. Two branches of the same family tree, two totally opposite survival strategies. And this is where the story gets genuinely surprising, because that same research proposes something almost nobody expects. It suggests hair loss might not have just been a side effect of walking upright. It might have been a cause of it. Here's the logic. In most primates, a newborn can grip its mother's fur and cling on while she moves around, hands-free, business as usual. But once our ancestors started losing that thick body hair, babies had nothing left to grab onto. No fur, no grip, which meant mothers physically had to hold their infants in their arms instead. And you cannot efficiently carry a baby in your arms while also knuckle walking on all fours like a chimpanzee. Something had to change. This theory argues that losing our fur may have been one of the pressures that pushed our ancestors toward walking upright on two legs, freeing up the arms, specifically so mothers could carry their newly furless, gripless babies. Read that again. Losing hair might have taught us how to walk. Here's a theory that connects hair loss to something even bigger, your intelligence. There's a model proposed by researchers that ties hairlessness directly to brain growth through pure biochemistry. Growing and maintaining thick body hair is metabolically expensive. It costs real energy, real resources, constantly. The theory argues that once hair production shut down across most of the body had this sudden surplus of metabolic resources that used to be spent growing fur. And where did that surplus go? Straight into brain development. According to this model, the timing lines up almost perfectly. Hair loss is estimated to have happened somewhere around 2.2 to 2.4 million years ago, which is right before the era when the human brain started its dramatic expansion in early Homo species. This theory isn't claiming hair loss caused intelligence directly. It's proposing something more like an energy trade. Your body stopped spending calories on fur and started spending them on thought.